my accountant called and said, "Chris, there's a wire transfer. $440,000 went out yesterday to a Cayman Islands account." I said, "That's impossible. I was with my family all weekend." Her voice dropped. "I know. That's why I'm calling you." Then I realized why my sister disappeared for 2 minutes. My name is Chris. I'm 33. Oldest kid, first to move out, first to start a company, the one who always figures it out. That's what my mother says when she's handing me another problem that isn't mine. I'm the guy who fixes Wi-Fi, buys plane tickets, and somehow ends up paying for dinner because the bill lands near me. Entrepreneur is a polite word for I haven't slept since 2019. I build logistics software. I live in a small apartment that looks bigger in photos. I run on black coffee and deadlines. I'm also the family wallet. Not officially. It's just understood. My sister, Dana, is 29. Bright. Charming. She knows everyone at the party before she walks in. She also knows how to tilt a conversation until you feel guilty for breathing too loudly. Her favorite line whenever I say no: "It must be nice to forget where you came from." 2 Sundays ago, we were at my parents' place for my mother's birthday. Kitchen loud with voices. Paper plates under the good cake because my father hates doing dishes. I was cutting slices when Dana leaned against the counter and said it like a joke, but not a joke. "You're late on gifts this year, banker boy." I laughed. "I'm not a banker." She smiled with her eyebrows. "You are when we need you to be." My mother snapped her fingers at me like I was still 15. "Christopher, don't forget your grandma's prescription money on your way out. The card machine by the pharmacy is broken and cash would be easier." "Mom, I sent you money last week." She waved it away. That disappeared. Life is expensive. My father stared at the TV like the remote was more important than me. "Don't make a fuss," he said, not looking up. "It's family." I wanted to say, "Family is not my payroll." Instead, I whispered, "I'm tapped out till Tuesday." I said it too softly. Dana laughed in that way that makes everyone else laugh, because she's already decided it's funny. Tapped out. The rich entrepreneur is tapped out? Cute. I set down the knife. "That's not." "Relax," she said, already bored. "You know I'm messing with you." But the room had shifted. I felt it. The tightening in my chest, heat in my ears, that small animal sense that something was off. I couldn't name it yet. Not there. Not while my mother lifted her glass and said, "To family. The people who show up." Everyone cheered. I took a sip and tasted nothing. I looked at Dana and remembered how she'd disappeared into the hallway a few minutes earlier, phone pressed to her ear, voice low. Just 2 minutes. Then she came back, smiling like she'd solved a puzzle I didn't know we had. I didn't understand it then. I just felt the click of it somewhere under my ribs, like a door unlocking in a dark house. Here's the part people skip when they tell tidy stories: the pattern. At 22, I built my first app. It tanked. At 24, I joined a tiny startup, then left to start my own with a friend. We made something that worked. I learned to love spreadsheets. I learned to hate weekends. Money was lumpy. Success looked like an ECG. In those years, my family learned something too. If they called me, I picked up. When the car died, I paid the tow. When the rent got tight, I covered the gap. When my parents' roof leaked, I put it on my card because the contractor doesn't trust checks. They said thank you with a tone like I was passing them napkins. The script never changed. "Chris, you're so good with numbers. Chris, you know how hard it is for us. Chris, just this once." Dana played a different part. She didn't ask. She framed things. "You remember how Dad helped you with your first car?" "He didn't." "You remember sleeping on my couch when you were coding nights?" "It was 2 nights and I fixed her router for 6 months." She'd tilt the story, then smile like she'd offered me the chance to be generous in front of an audience. When I started paying myself a real salary, I made a budget for family. I put it in a separate account. I told my parents I'd help with specific things: medicine, utilities, emergencies. I told Dana I wouldn't fund big purchases, not her credit card point strategy, not bridging loans. I said it simply: "I'm not a bank." She laughed. "You're literally a payments guy." Boundaries didn't take. They heard, "Maybe later." It escalated slowly. Little things. My mother forgot to cash my checks and asked me to Zelle instead. My father lost receipts. Dana logged into my Netflix, and somehow also my airline miles. I switched passwords and felt like a villain. Then the small lie, the one I didn't catch. Last summer, when things got tight at work, I hired an outside accountant, Sarah. She rebuilt our books with military neatness. She found a $1,000 subscription we'd been double charged for. I joked that she was my favorite person. She laughed like an older sister I hadn't had. In January, my friend and I closed a Series A. Nothing crazy, but enough to breathe. I told no one except my co-founder and Sarah because I'd learned. Money makes my family weird. I kept my head down. I kept my same apartment. I kept my same shoes with the weird squeak. But news leaks. A cousin posted a photo of me at a co-working space and captioned it King. My mother called and said, so proud. My father said, about time. Dana sent a string of champagne emojis and a link to a watch she'd been meaning to buy eventually. I ignored the link. I sent my mother flowers. I sent Dana nothing. She responded in the group chat with a meme that said, billionaire behavior, and a winking face. That night, she texted me privately. Serious question. I need 20K just for like 2 weeks. Commission clears, and I'll send it back. I typed no and deleted it. I typed a paragraph about boundaries and deleted that too. I wrote, I can do 2K to help cover groceries or utilities, not loans. She didn't answer. The next morning, she posted a story from a rooftop bar. Then the weekend at my mother's birthday, the thing with the 2 minutes in the hallway, and the small click inside me. Monday morning, 8:14 a.m., I was in a Zoom with a client who speaks in bullet points. My phone flashed with Sarah's name. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. And again. That's not like her. I answered. Her voice was tight. Chris, did you authorize a wire transfer yesterday? Yesterday was Sunday. I know, she said. That's why I'm calling. I switched my laptop audio to mute. How much? A lot. My mouth went dry. How much is a lot? 440. I stared at the ceiling tile above my desk like it could fix me. 1,000. 100, she said. 440,000. Sarah, that's impossible. I was with my family all weekend. I know, she said, and her voice dropped. That's why I'm calling you. I felt the click again. Dana. The 2 minutes. The hallway. I walked to my kitchen because the walls in there feel like a place where true things can be said. Tell me everything. Sarah exhaled. The wire went out from your new high-yield account. Not corporate. Personal. Cayman Bank. The request had your full name, SSN, a PDF of your ID, and a signed letter. I didn't sign anything. I figured. The signature looked traced. I leaned against the counter so hard the wood squeaked. When, Sunday, 1:42 p.m., my brain brought up a photo of my mother blowing out candles at 1:35. It played me the sound of Dana's laugh at 1:38. It showed me my sister stepping into the hall at 1:40 with her phone pressed to her ear. Sarah, I said, can we freeze it? I already called the bank. They flagged it. It's pending final settlement. We have a window. How big? Hours. You have my power of attorney documents. For corporate, not personal. I closed my eyes. Walk me through what you need. She did. I took notes with my left hand because my right hand wouldn't stop shaking. I opened my password manager and changed everything I could think to change. I called the bank, then security, then the fraud line, then back to the bank because the first person pronounced my last name like a question. By noon, the wire was in a holding cell. Not safe. Not gone. Just in the place where money waits to see who cares more. At 12:18, my mother texted, did you make it home okay, honey? At 12:19, Dana texted, are you being weird? You're being weird. I typed, we need to talk, and deleted it. By 12:34, Sarah sent me screenshots. The IP that requested the transfer. The email used to confirm it. The device fingerprint from the login. A repeating pattern over days of failed logins at 2 a.m. Looks like they had your old password, she wrote, and got lucky when you used the same route on that new account. My stomach dropped. 6 months ago, I'd helped my parents with their Wi-Fi. Dana had hovered behind me. What's your password again? She'd teased, because she always teased. I'd held up my phone screen, half a joke, half a dare. She had laughed. You're impossible. Not impossible, it turns out. Just predictable. I didn't start with the police. I started with the family group chat because I'm a fool who always hopes the easy door opens first. Me. Emergency call at 1 p.m. Everyone. Mom, I'm in a Pilates class, sweetheart. Dad, at work. Dana, make it fast. Me, now. They joined the FaceTime with the lighting of people who don't expect to be caught. My mother smiled too wide. Chris, darling, what's wrong? You look pale. I kept my voice flat. Someone tried to steal $440,000 from my personal account yesterday. Silence. My father blinked. My mother's smile took half a second to break. Dana tilted her head like a cat. I shared my screen. This is the wire request. Here's the signature. Here's the Cayman account. Here's the IP. Here's the device ID. Here are the login attempts from our home network name on Saturday night. Here is the authorization email sent from an address created last week with my initials, but wrong birthday. My mother whispered, "Oh my God." I kept going because if I stopped, the room would fill with fog. Here's the photo of my ID attached to the request. It's my ID, but the edges are jagged where someone traced it. Here's the line where they typed my middle name wrong the way only someone who guesses would type it. Dana crossed her arms. So, I said. So someone scammed you, she said, shrugging. You're not special, Chris. Happens to people every day. You should be more careful with your passwords. I didn't blink. Dana, where did you go for 2 minutes yesterday? At 1:40. She rolled her eyes. Bathroom. Your phone was in your right hand in the hallway, I said. You never go to the bathroom without your phone, but you came back with both hands empty. Where'd you set it while you were in the bathroom? She opened her mouth, closed it. You can't be serious. I am, I said, because the request came in at 1:42 and the IP points to our house. The device fingerprint matches your new phone, and the test email to confirm the transfer uses your backup Gmail you only give to delivery drivers. You forgot you used it for a brunch reservation once and replied to Mom from it. It autofills. My mother said my name like a warning. Christopher. Mom, I said without looking away from Dana. I tapped my keyboard. A new window filled the screen. A photo Dana had posted last week. It was a hand holding a cocktail. Her hand. Her nails with tiny white stars on the ring finger. Next to them, her phone case, clear with a sunflower sticker, mirrored in the glass. The reflection showed her lock screen. That dumb, perfect candid of us at the beach when we were kids. The same lock screen in the security log. Are you serious right now? Dana said. Her voice, for the first time, had a hairline crack. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just said, I froze the wire. If you tell me now, I can decide how this goes. She laughed, but it was the wrong laugh. Decide? You think you get to decide? You walk around with your startup and your little money and act like you're better than us, but you're not. You're a vending machine with feelings. My father finally spoke. Dana. Just her name. Not a scold. A caution. Her chin went up. I did nothing. Then you won't mind the police seeing your phone, I said. And you won't mind me forwarding the bank's fraud team the IP logs, the device ID, and the video from our doorbell yesterday that shows you stepping outside at 1:41 because upstairs is a dead spot for cell service and you needed signal. Her eyes flashed. You went through the doorbell footage? I installed the doorbell, I said. Remember? I fixed things. My mother reached for words and grabbed the wrong ones. Chris, please. We're family. I know, I said. That's why I'm giving you 10 minutes to tell the truth before I send this to people who won't care that we are. Dana's jaw worked like a machine chewing a bolt. She looked at my father. He looked at the floor. She looked at my mother. My mother looked at me. Fine. Dana said finally, and the word hit the room like a dropped plate. Yes. I set it up. I wasn't going to take all of it. It was a bridge. I was going to put it back. She tried to smile. You know how these deals work. What deals? I said, but she was already talking. I met a guy who does private placements. He said short window, guaranteed return. He said if I could get in fast, I'd double it in a week. I just needed seed. I figured you'd say no because you always say no, so you stole, I said. She rolled her eyes hard enough to see all of college. It's not stealing if I was going to return it. My mother finally found her voice, small and shaky. We can fix this quietly. We can't, I said. I froze the wire, but the bank filed a suspicious activity report. This is already real. Dana folded her arms again, lips tight. You're ridiculous. No, I said. I'm done. And something in the room snapped shut. The next 12 hours were slow and surgical. First, the bank. I forwarded everything. I authorized the fraud team to contact Sarah. I wrote a statement with timestamps. I included the doorbell video. I signed it digitally. I didn't look at my name in the signature because it felt like someone else's. Then I called a lawyer. He answered on the second ring and told me 2 things I didn't want to hear. Report it to the police now, and stop talking to your family until you have counsel on every call. I wrote both on a sticky note and taped it to my monitor because grief makes me forget simple sentences. At 3:06 p.m., I filed a police report. The officer on the phone asked questions like a metronome. I answered them like a person translating their own life into past tense. At 3:48 p.m., the bank confirmed the wire was reversed into a holding account pending investigation. The money wasn't back. It was visible. It would be released when the case closed. Corporate words for, not gone. At 4:22 p.m., Dana texted me directly. You're destroying my life. Call off the dogs. 5 minutes later, I didn't mean it like that. 10 minutes later, you've always wanted to embarrass me. Then, fine. Do what you want. I didn't reply. At 6:01 p.m., my mother called from the house phone like it was 1998. I let it go to voicemail. Then she sent a flurry of texts, each one like a different season. Honey, I'm sure this is a misunderstanding. Your sister is in tears. We are your parents. You owe us kindness. Don't do this to us. We raised you. We sacrificed. Remember who helped you when you had nothing. We can make this go away. Call me now. I read them in order and felt my lungs get small. I put my phone face down and washed the same cup twice. At 8:30 p.m., Sarah called. The bank liaison said your documentation is the cleanest they've seen. That helps. Also, you need to file an FTC identity theft affidavit. Now, I filed it. I scheduled fraud alerts with all 3 bureaus. I thought about how adult chores are just whether you stand in because no one else can. At 10:14 p.m., a new text from my father. 3 sentences. Don't press charges. She's your sister. We'll figure out a repayment plan. I stared at the word plan until it lost its meaning. I typed no and deleted it. I typed, you should have told her no before she needed a felony, and deleted it. I typed nothing and slept on the floor because my bed felt too kind. Morning made things sharper, not easier. The lawyer called at 8 and said, they'll try to make you feel crazy. Don't negotiate via text. Don't go to their house. Don't meet alone. If they call, let it record. He paused. You okay? No, I said, but I'm not going to die. He said, that's enough for today. Around noon, my phone lit with Dana's name. I answered because I wanted to hear the version of the story she tells herself. Are you happy? She said, voice flat. No. You ruined my life. You tried to empty mine. It was alone, she said, and the word cracked in the middle. I didn't agree to it. She exhaled into the phone like she could fog the truth. You were never going to help me. You like this. You like being the martyr. I closed my eyes. I like building things. I like sleeping at night. You think you're better than us. I think I'm allowed to own my money and my choices, I said. I think I'm allowed to not be stolen from by someone who knows my childhood phone number. Silence. Then that tiny voice I remember from when we were kids, and she needed me to check the closet for monsters. I panicked, she said. I'm in deep. I thought I could fix it fast. With fraud, I said softly. Don't call it that, she snapped, voice back to steel. You always make everything sound worse. Because it is worse, I didn't say. Because it's true. That night, I wrote an email to my parents. Short. Clean. I attached a PDF the lawyer helped me draft. It said, I will communicate only in writing. All financial boundaries are now formal. Do not use my name or accounts for any reason. Do not ask me for access. Do not represent me with any institution. If you do, I will treat it as fraud. I hit send and felt like I'd started a fire in a room I was still inside. Days stretched. Work moved. The wire sat in its holding cell. The bank asked for 1 more statement and 2 more screenshots. The police asked to schedule an in-person interview. My lawyer told me not to post anything online. I wanted to post everything. The group chat went silent. Then it roared. An aunt wrote, family is messy. Forgive. A cousin wrote, I heard there was a misunderstanding. A neighbor I barely know texted, we love Dana. Someone from high school DM'd me. My brother did this to me too. I stopped opening messages after that. A week later, the bank released the funds back to my account. No confetti. No banner. Just a balance that made me cry in my kitchen because it was mine again. 2 days later, the detective called to tell me they'd completed the report. Your sister's admitted enough that the DA wants to pursue a plea. They'll ask if you want to recommend conditions. I sat with that. The heavy idea that justice can look like choices you have to make about people you love. My recommendations were simple. Full restitution, financial counseling, community service at a victim assistance nonprofit, and a restraining order if she contacts me outside of counsel. It felt both too much and not enough. The storm didn't end. It just changed temperature. My mother's last message came at midnight. You broke this family. I stared at it as long as I could, and then blocked the number because a boundary isn't a line you draw once. It's a wall you maintain daily. I slept for 10 hours like a person who finally let go of a rope. I used to think closure would look like a speech. That I'd stand up in a crowded room and say, here's every receipt, every screenshot, every time you made me smaller. That people would applaud and the credits would roll. It didn't happen like that. It happened Tuesday at 3:17 p.m. in a Beige County office with a clerk who used 3 paperclips where one would do. I signed the last restitution form. I walked out into bright sun that didn't care who I was. I sat in my car and watched a dad teach his toddler how to press the crosswalk button. The kid pressed it too hard and laughed like he'd broken a rule. I went home. I made pasta. I ate it standing up because sitting still feels like practice for regret. I opened my email and found 2 invoices paid and one message from Sarah that said, "Proud of you." I looked at that sentence for a long time because no one in my family has ever said it without a string attached. Later, I took a walk with my phone in my pocket and my ringer off. The city sounded like a big dishwasher. I passed a pawn shop with a sign that said "We buy gold" and thought about all the tiny ways people trade pieces of themselves to get through a bad week. When I got back, I wrote a note for myself and taped it to the inside of my front door where no one else will see it. It says, "You are not a vending machine with feelings. You are not a bank. You are not responsible for their unfinished work. You are allowed to be generous and still say no. You are allowed to lock the door." I keep thinking about the 2 minutes Dana disappeared at my mother's party. How small the action was. How casual. How it was enough to almost rearrange my life. And I think about the other 2 minutes. The ones I took before I called the bank. The ones where I stood in my kitchen and let the truth land in my bones. The moment I understood that love without boundaries is just an open tab at a bar where no one knows your name. Sarah called today to close the loop. "Everything reconciled," she said. "You good?" "No," I said, then corrected it because truth is work. "I'm getting there." She laughed softly. "That counts." I don't know if my family will ever forgive me for choosing not to be used. I don't know if Dana will do the counseling seriously or if my parents will ever say the word steal out loud. I do know this. My accounts are mine. My days are mine. My story is mine. Next time someone in my family asks for something that costs me more than money, I'll say no and let it hang there. Not cruel, just clean. I used to think the opposite of love was anger. Turns out, sometimes it's peace. And that's what I wanted all along.